The entire world was surprised when Jackie sued for divorce. She was demanding $300 million from Doug. The people could not believe their eyes. How would a couple who appear so happy disintegrate like that? In the beginning, Jackie pretended to be a hurt wife. She told everybody that Doug had betrayed her, disrespected their marriage, and abandoned her with no choice but to leave him. The media was crazed. They called Doug a cheater, a bad husband and a liar who did not deserve the success that he had. But there was another story. Doug had a different version of what had occurred, and he was not going to stay silent while Jackie was giving interviews and making emotional claims. Doug was working in silence. He was not fighting simply for his money. He was fighting for his reputation. He had worked hard years to establish his career, and he was not going to allow Jackie to ruin it with lies. But what made this case even more unbelievable was that Doug had evidence that could turn everything around. At first, Jackie's attorneys were extremely confident they had made Doug the villain and thought they had all the evidence they needed. Jackie claimed she had given up everything for Doug's success. She told others that without her, Doug would not be where he was today. Fans stood by her. They had called Doug a selfish man who had left the woman by his side. But this was not simply a matter of money. This was a matter of secrets. And Doug held a huge secret which Jackie had never anticipated that he would let loose. The tension continued to build. Doug stayed cool. He allowed Jackie to think she was the one in control, but in the background he was preparing himself for the greatest battle of his life. He had engaged the top lawyers and the top investigators. He had files that could ruin Jackie's case in an instant. Then finally the time came. Doug's lawyers came forward. They were prepared to expose something so dramatic that even Jackie's attorneys began to panic. The courtroom was packed. Reporters, supporters, and legal analysts were all awaiting Doug's next step. Jackie sat complacently believing she was in charge. She had spent weeks building Doug look like the villain and making sure everyone saw her as the victim. But she had no idea what was about to happen. Doug's lawyer stood up. He was holding a folder that would change everything. He walked to the judge and handed over the documents. The judge looked at them, then turned to Jackie's lawyers. "Would you like to explain this?" The whole room went silent. Jackie shifted in her seat. She whispered something into her attorney, but it was too late. Things had changed. Doug was defending himself, but he was outing Jackie's lies. The paper proved that Jackie had been secretly stashing away money. She had lied about her financial situation. She had manipulated the truth. The same lady who claimed that Doug had betrayed her was now ensnared in her own web of lies. This was not just a divorce case anymore. Jackie could be in big legal trouble, and then things got even more shocking. Doug's lawyers presented proof that Jackie had quietly transferred millions of dollars into secret accounts while simultaneously pretending to be broke and begging for $300 million from Doug. The courtroom gasped. Jackie's smug face went away. Most celebrity divorces are dramatic, but this was greater than drama. This was becoming a massive scandal. Jackie was not only in danger of losing the case, she would also be criminally charged with financial fraud. Doug had known the truth all along. That is why he had remained silent. He had let Jackie think she was winning, but now it was all out in the open. And the most unbelievable aspect, Jackie was not alone in this scheme. Doug had another secret to share. Jackie's hands shook as she gazed at the papers. Her face paled. The entire courtroom sat in stunned silence. There was every eye on her. But Doug wasn't done yet. He leaned over and said in a firm but steady voice, "You've been lying." Jackie, not only about the money, but about everything. The judge glared at Jackie's attorney for an answer, but they were just as shocked as everyone else. Jackie finally talked, her voice trembling. "This is ridiculous. Doug is just trying to ruin me. Because he does not want to pay," but things were about to get even more interesting. Doug's lawyer smiled. He pulled out another set of documents. He handed them to the judge. The judge looked at them, and then the courtroom gasped again. These were not just financial records. They showed Jackie's secret business deals. They showed money hidden in offshore accounts. They showed properties she had kept secret, and they even showed that she had been working against Doug's company while feigning support. Jackie was not only after Doug's money, she had been scheming against him for years. Doug stood up, his voice firm. Jackie, you never intend to just walk away. You wanted to ruin me. You wanted to make me appear to be the bad guy. You wanted to take everything I worked for. Jackie's well-crafted image of a devastated wife was crumbling. She shook her head, but the evidence was too strong, and then something unexpected happened. Doug turned to the judge. Your Honor, I have a witness who can verify everything, and believe me, you will not believe who it is. The tension in the room was unbearable. Jackie's confidence had vanished. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape. Doug took a deep breath. Then he uttered the name Jackie's own assistant, Melissa. The courtroom was filled with gasps. Jackie's face flushed with rage. She would never do this. This is a trap, Jackie bellowed, but before she could utter another word, the doors opened. Melissa strode in. She looked anxious, but also resolute. Doug's attorney waved her onto the stand. Jackie shook her head in incredulity. Melissa sat down. She grasped the edge of the witness stand firmly. She breathed in deeply. Then she focused directly on Jackie and began. I never wanted to do this, but I cannot lie anymore. I have seen everything. Jackie has been planning this for years. Jackie clenched her fists. Melissa, how could you? Doug's lawyer stepped in. Let her speak. Melissa went on. She moved millions into offshore accounts. She funneled money through fake companies. She even bribed people to ensure Doug would never find out. She wanted to ensure that when the divorce came, she would walk away with everything. Jackie's lawyer finally addressed, Your Honor. This is merely a story. There is no evidence. Doug's attorney smiled. In fact, there is. He proceeded over to the evidence table and picked up a folder. This contains bank statements, email exchanges, and even taped telephone calls. He held aloft a USB drive. This contains telephone conversations between Jackie and her accountants. In these calls, she discusses concealing money and fabricating losses in order to withdraw more from Doug. Jackie's face lost all color. That is illegal. How did you even get that? Doug's lawyer chuckled. When you treat people badly, they do not stay loyal forever. Your assistant. The people who helped you set this up, they all turned against you. The judge looked at Jackie. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Jackie was breathing heavily now. She knew she had no way out. Then she did something no one expected. She laughed a bitter laugh. Cold filled the courtroom. Jackie shook her head, smiled. You think this I have lost, she said. You do not know me, Doug. I always have a backup plan. Doug narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Jackie leaned forward. Did you really think I did all of this without leaving my tracks? If I go down, I'm not going alone. Doug's lawyer frowned. Is that a threat? Jackie's voice dropped lower. I have knowledge, Doug. Things you do not want people to hear if you force me. I will share it. Doug remained quiet for a moment, observing her. Then he shook his head. I am not scared of you, Jackie. The judge pounded the gavel enough. We will have a brief break. Before proceeding, since people started exiting the courtroom, Jackie faced Melissa. You will regret this. Melissa looked her in the eyes, without fear. No. Jackie. I regret saying nothing for so long. Doug observed as Jackie was taken away by her attorney. He knew this wasn't over. Jackie still had surprises in store, but this time he was prepared for her. This battle wasn't about money anymore. It was about justice, and Doug was not going to lose when the trial began again. Doug's attorney stood up with more evidence. This time it was even better for Jackie. They showed video evidence of her encounter with a prominent financial criminal. It established that she had spent years preparing for this scam. Now the court was no longer discussing divorce. The prosecution was contemplating bringing criminal charges against her. What began as a messy divorce proceeding was becoming one of the most largest financial fraud schemes in celebrity history. Jackie's attorneys attempted to defend her, but nothing could save her now. The proof against her was too great, and when at last the judge made his decision, It was obvious Jackie was not only losing the money, but also facing legal repercussions. Doug emerged from the courtroom. Cameras popped, reporters yelled questions, and people applauded. He had won not only the case, but freedom from Jackie's deceptions. Jackie herself sat paralyzed in her chair. For the first time in her life, she had really lost, and there was no escape. Melissa's hands trembled as she grasped the microphone. "I never wanted to do this," she admitted, "but I cannot continue covering for her." She took a deep breath and disclosed something that stunned everyone. Jackie planned the entire divorce prior to her even filing for it. Gasps filled the courtroom. Melissa presented emails, voice recordings, and text messages. They confirmed that Jackie had been working on this scheme for more than a year. She instructed me to begin gathering bad stuff on Doug months prior to even discussing divorce. Melissa indicated she needed to ensure she would receive as much money as she could, and she wanted to destroy his career. At the same time, Jackie's jaw dropped. "That is a lie. She is fabricating." This Doug's attorney was prepared. He brought out phone records, which indicated that Jackie had been in regular touch with private investigators, accountants, and even some journalists. She had been supplying them with false information in order to bring Doug in a bad light. Everything was crumbling right in front of her. Doug eyed Jackie carefully, his expression stoic. The courtroom was abuzz with whispers. Just a few days ago, people thought that Jackie was just fighting for what she rightfully deserved, but now the reality spoke a different tale, and Doug was yet to finish. He was not done yet. Doug's attorney let Melissa's remarks settle. Jackie sat frozen, her mind racing before she could say anything. Doug finally spoke. "This is the moment everyone has been waiting for." He said. He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a thick file, and placed it on the table. "This," Doug said, his voice firm, "is the real truth about Jackie's finances." Jackie's eyes widened in horror. She had expected Doug to fight back, but she never thought he would uncover this. Doug's lawyer opened the file and submitted papers to the judge. "Your Honor, these finial documents established that Jackie was concealing millions, not only from Doug, but from the court." Gasps were heard throughout. Even Jackie's own attorney was shocked. The judge leaned forward and read through the documents. The courtroom was silent as could be, as the truth was established. Doug's lawyers had uncovered everything: offshore accounts, hidden property transactions, falsified tax documents. Jackie's reputation, which she had worked so hard to build, was now crumbling apart. Jackie shook her head. "This is not real. It is a setup." But her lawyer was already scanning the documents. His face changed from shock to comprehension. He leaned towards her and whispered something, but Jackie was too frantic to hear. She snatched the papers, rifling through them, as if she could discover a means to justify them. But there was no escape. Doug sat back in his chair, arms crossed. "I knew you were ruthless, Jackie," he said. "But I never thought you would go this far. You tried to ruin me, destroy my reputation, and take everything I worked for, and for what? Greed, revenge." He shook his head. "All you had to do was walk away with dignity, but you chose war. And now here we are." Melissa sat down, looking shaken. She had been a faithful friend to Jackie for years, but today she had at last set the record straight. She had assisted Jackie in lying, spreading rumors and playing tricks on people, but eventually the truth prevailed. The judge cleared his throat. "This is serious evidence," he said, looking at Jackie. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Jackie swallowed hard. Her mind was working overtime, but no words were forthcoming. The media were in the courtroom, writing frantically. This case would be the largest headline of the year. The woman who had once played the role of an injured wife seeking justice was now revealed as a fake. Her lawyer rose. "Your Honor, we ask for a brief recess." "Denied," the judge snapped. "We will continue." Doug's attorney did not waste any time. Not only did Jackie secret cash, he said she also attempted to bribe essential witnesses. "We have evidence from individuals she went to provide money for false testimony against Doug." Jackie's breath caught in her throat. A man from the audience stood. He cleared his throat. "Your Honor, my name is Victor Harris. I was Jackie's financial advisor. He looked at Jackie, then went on. I was instructed to transfer large sums of money to hidden accounts. Later, that money was used to pay off certain individuals. I have banking statements to support it. Jackie's lawyer sat back in his chair, rubbing his temples. It was over. They all knew it. Jackie had spent more than a year plotting the ultimate betrayal. She was certain she would prevail, but she had underestimated Doug. She had hoped people would believe her deceptions, but in the end the truth had spoken louder. The judge sighed. This is extremely serious, he said. With all this evidence, I am making a decision now. Jackie's petition for higher alimony is denied. Her assets are frozen, pending further investigation into financial fraud. The court will reconvene next week to consider legal repercussions. Jackie finally lost control. You cannot do this to me, she yelled. Standing up, Doug, please let us talk. We can work this out. Doug looked at her. Talk? Like how you talk to the press about me, like how you talk to the investigators behind my back. I think we are past talking, Jackie. The BFF stepped forward. Jackie slowly sat back down. The power she once had was gone. The lies she built had been torn apart in front of everyone. Melissa looked away, guilt washing over her. Maybe she should have come clean sooner. Maybe she should have stopped Jackie, but it was too late now. The damage was done. Doug stood up and walked toward the door. His lawyer followed. The case was not fully over, but Jackie's fate was sealed. She had lost outright. As Doug entered the hallway, cameras popped. Reporters ran towards him, no comment. His attorney said firmly, Doug did not have to say anything. The truth had already spoken for itself. And for the first time in a long time, he felt free. Jackie was trapped. If she admitted to concealing money, she could land in serious legal jeopardy. But if she lied, the evidence was already present to show she was lying. And the worst of it, the more Doug's attorney uncovered, the worse it was for Jackie. This is fraud. Doug's attorney declared emphatically, she deceived the system to draw sympathy while she kept her own fortune safe. Jackie's breathing grew unsteady. Reporters were typing hastily. Cameras were snapping and the world was watching as her painstakingly constructed image crumbled live in front of them. For months, she had made Doug look like the bad guy. But fate had taken an unexpected turn. The real villain was her. The judge sighed heavily and rubbed his temples. Given these new facts, I will need time to review the evidence before making a ruling. But Doug was not finished yet. He leaned forward, his voice cutting through the noise in the courtroom. There is one last thing I need to say, and that was the moment everything changed. Doug's next words sent a shiver down the room. The air was filled with tension. Jackie, who had previously sat confidently, was shaking her fingers, clasped the table's edge. Her breath was short, but what came next was more astonishing. Doug breathed in and stared directly at Jackie for years. I was quiet. He said, I let you distort the truth. I let you portray me as the villain. I allowed the world to think that I was the one who was at fault. Then he went to the judge, but now it is time to share the true story. I have evidence that this divorce case never should have come this far. Jackie knew what she was doing. Jackie's attorney attempted to interrupt, but Doug's attorney held up a hand. Your Honor, we have received leaked emails and voice recordings that revealed Jackie plotted this. From the very starting, the courtroom exploded. Jackie's, her whole scheme was going to be revealed. Doug's attorney played the initial recording. Jackie's voice filled the room. I will make him pay for all that he believes he is clever, but he will never see this coming. Then, an email popped up on the screen. It was a message Jackie had sent to her financial advisor months earlier. She even filed for divorce. We need to move the money before I take him to court. I want it to appear as though I have nothing. The worse I appear, the better my case. The room became silent. Jackie's own words had just irreparably harmed her case. The judge's expression hardened. Miss Christie, do you understand how serious this is? Jackie's lips parted, but nothing was said. This was the most astounding moment of all. Not only had she been lying, but she had planned the whole divorce case to make Doug Did look guilty and grab as much money as he could. Her lawyer leaned in and whispered something to her, but Jackie shook her head. She wouldn't back down. But the truth was evident. Her case had just imploded in front of everyone. Doug stood up. I wanted to keep this between us, he said. But after all, you've put me through, dragging my name through the mud, lying to the world, attempting to destroy my life. I had no alternative. He faced the judge. I am asking for an immediate dismissal of this case and complete damages for the emotional and financial damage she has inflicted on me. The judge nodded deliberately. Based on the overwhelming evidence, I can find no reason for this case to proceed. Then he faced Jackie. Miss Christie, I think you should be ready for the effects of your actions. Jackie sat, paralyzed. Her whole plan had only disintegrated. What made this story unique? She believed she was able to outwit all of them, but ultimately she had played herself outside of court. Reporters were already broadcasting the sensational collapse of Jackie Christie. Doug stepped out. His name finally cleared. Jackie, once mighty and untouchable, now reduced to nothing but remorse. And in a split second, the $300 million divorce case had imploded in the most unbelievable manner.